how'd you get from this beautiful, oasis of freaking beauty to wanting to punch people in the face for a living and into this MMA? Like, what got you into that?
Man, there's like a bunch of pieces to that story, but it starts when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
You know? And my uncles, I have these uncles who are like 12, 13 years older than me. So I'm 3 years old and they're about 15, 16 years old. And one of them comes home with a Betamax cassette player. Right? And so my uncle brought home Superman and Enter the Dragon. Those two movies. So I watched those two. Those are the first two movies I remember ever watching. I'm watching Enter the Dragon, and there's a scene where I think it's not James Kelly. I forget the white guy his name in the movie, his real name. But his character, he's on the mat, he's on the ground, he does this kip up. I'm 3 years old, and I'm looking at my uncle see that, and I'm like, I can do that. And like I just saw it for the first time. I can do that, and my uncle, you can't do that. And then I go and do it, and they're like, that's because your dad. It's because your dad, It's because your dad is who he is. So, but like ever since, that was the first martial art, and I wanted to be like Bruce Lee. I wanted to be like Superman. But then I found out Superman was an alien, and he wasn't. First of all, he wasn't real. No, I first learned he was an alien. Then I was like, yeah, Superman isn't real. People can't really fly. I was like, oh, well, fuck that guy. So I ended up falling in love with Batman. I wanted to be like Batman, and also he did martial arts, but like the Bruce Lee thing. And then I grew up watching like all the kung fu movies where where they talk like that, and then it's like, you killed my master? How's it going? So I grew up watching those things, and then Bloodsport and all those movies came out, and like these tournaments, and I was just like, I wanted to do martial arts my whole life. I did martial arts for a couple of months at home as a kid in the Bahamas in the 4th grade. I was 9 years old. I did karate, and it was cool, but it was also not what I thought it was.
It was like traditional karate?
Traditional karate.
Or?
It's traditional karate, but I don't remember what style of karate. It was probably like Shorin-ryu or something. Okay. I know I'm not saying that right. I'm being disrespectful. Yeah, it's Shorin-ryu. But like, we had to learn these forms, and we almost and I was a white belt, and so we were never sparring, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. This is whack, Fun. And then I moved here, and I started training like traditional martial arts here. Trained praying mantis, kung fu, and whatnot, because there was really nothing.
Okay, tell me about praying mantis, kung fu. Sounds like, I ain't gonna lie, it sounds like fake. Like they just showing you some stuff that, like you push them with the wind of your hand, and then they supposed to fall down.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. So we learn these forms and whatnot, and it's like these different hand postures for your hand to do these
praying mantis style.
that like I've never used in any of my MMA fights,
Okay.
But like I did learn like.
Was it like wax on, wax off? Like
a bit of like, there was some of that. You learn these blocks and these things that you don't do, and then you spar and you don't ever use any of those things except like the kicks and whatnot.
Okay.
The only thing, but like the kicks, I learned some side kicks, front kicks, round kicks, but the only kicks that I ever transitioned over were the round kicks and front kicks, right? Mm-hmm. We used to spar, do that, and I loved it. I thought I was cool. Yeah. I was like, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. Yeah. In high school, and then I was coming home one day, or not even coming home one day. I saw it on the TV Guide magazine. There was going to be a UFC. But nobody knew it was the first UFC. Nobody knew what it was, but the advertisement said judo versus karate versus kickboxing versus sumo versus, and I was like, wait a minute, this is like Bloodsport. This is what I want to do that. I begged my stepdad, I begged my dad, I'm like, hey.
How old were you then?
14. No, I was like 16?
Like 16.
16, yeah. It's like 1993. So I was about 16, and I'm just like, I begged my dad. I was like, we gotta get this. Here's my allowance. It's like $20. It's like, here's all my money.
Just so you can watch it.
Just so I can watch these fights. And then I'm sitting there watching it, and it's like, what are they doing? Everybody's like, Art Jimison comes out with one glove, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna punch this guy, and he gets taken out, he gets choked, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And then this guy, Jason DeLucia, he comes out, and he does praying mantis kung fu. I'm doing prayer. I'm like, this is my guy. Let's go. He's gonna do some cool shit, right? He does one spinning kick, like he throws a spinning wheel kick, and like literally they're like this far apart. Like your kick misses the guy's face like by that much, And then at some point they tie up and they go to the ground, and then he gets behind the guy and he chokes him. And I'm thinking, there must be something to that, but I don't really know still, Okay. But I start watching all the fights, watching fights, and I start understanding some of it. Don't do it yet. Haven't had any formal instruction or anything yet, but I'm like, I'm gonna do that one day. I'm gonna do that. That's what I want to do. And I'm like, but the UFC is only heavyweights, and I'm like 5'7", 5'8", 130 something pounds probably.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Rod Woodson is 5'9", just played for the Steelers, was a safety. And I start like, I could be that. He's 200 pounds, but like, I'm like, I get up to 200 pounds. And then they started the lower weight class. They had the 2 weight classes, the heavyweights, and they call them lightweights at the time. But everybody under 200 was that. So I was like, if I could be as big as Rod Woodson, he's my height, and I just gotta lift and eat. So I'm like eating weight gainer and drinking eating ice cream shakes and protein and everything all day. Going to the gym. I did my first thing with credit that they turned 18. Got a Bally's gym membership. And start going to the gym, lifting
The youngest,
weights.
they don't know about Bally's.
Yeah, right. That's like what 25 Fitness. That's probably gone too at this point.
Planet Fitness now.
Yeah. So I was doing all of that, but I remember watching a fight with Vernon White, and it was a Pancras fight. And Pancras had some weird rules where you could grab the ropes if you were in a submission and they let you go. You could do that up to 3 times, right?
Okay.
And he was losing the fight up until the 3rd round, and all of a sudden he like turned up, knocked the guy out. Yeah. And I'm like laying on the couch watching that, and I roll off the couch, get on my knees, and I'm like, God, please let me have fights like that. Please, you know?
Like you hoping for like wars.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God,
That's what, because like you grow up on martial arts movies, and Van Damme and Bruce Lee are like, Bruce Lee's getting all cut up and he's trying to walk through these mirrors trying to find the bad guy.
Yeah.
Van Damme's he's beating the guy who like paralyzed his brother and all this other shit, you know? So like I want that glory. And so I'm watching the fights, I'm starting to pick up things, but I don't know anything. And then I finally go back, I graduate high school here, but I go back home to the Bahamas. Like, I'm still, like, I'm just a kid. It's a weird thing, because I wasn't, like, I couldn't work here yet. I went home at the time, I got a job at home. My best friend, his little brother, comes out in this uniform, and he's like, I'm like, where you going? He's like, I'm going to my ninjutsu class. Like, I had these 2 best friends. One kid was this white Bahamian kid, other kid, black Bahamian kid, but, so I'm at my white friend's house, and his little brother comes out wearing this uniform, and he's like going to his ninjutsu class. And I'm like, bro, ain't no ninjas in the Bahamas. What you talking about, bro? Right? And he's like, no, we used to do stuff like what they do in the UFC, like chokes and arm bars and stuff. And I'm like, I gotta go see this.
Yeah.
You know, so I go up there, and I just turned 18, and this 14-year-old kid chokes me out. And I was like, I gotta learn how to do that.
At least to beat this little boy.
Yeah. So I started training there. I started learning some stuff, and it was like the system was Robert Bussey's Warrior International, and they had a guy who won a UFC, the 3rd UFC. He was the alternate, Steve Jenner. He won with like the worst armbar you'll ever see in the history of armbars. Like he's mounted on dude, punching dudes, like pushing him away, and he like literally stands up and rotates into the armbar.
Oh wow!
You know, but he gets it right.
Yeah.
And so I started training there, and then I came back to the U.S. Still couldn't work. I had this friend who's Puerto Rican. And we used to go to the park, put on hoodies and sweatpants, and just go in the park in the grass and wrestle. And just do martial arts and whatnot. Yeah. I gotta find this video. I'm gonna give. My dad found this video of like us. We did like this fight scene, and I did this whole scene where
y'all recorded it.
Yeah. Well, like I like jumped up and stomped his neck, and I was like, I did the whole facial expression and whatnot.
Yeah, like more WWE.
It was Bruce Lee. I was trying to be Bruce Lee.
Oh, okay.
You know.
For